If you explain that concept to women, that is horribly offensive. What do you mean? There's actual data that shows that you can't turn a into a housewife. Actual data that shows that.
You know, we talked about how like women are waiting until they're 30 now. I don't know what is the statistic similar to men.
Yeah, so like it's 29 and 30 and 30 and 31 and I forget. I think men 31 and women 30. I believe that's what James Sexton said last time I talked to him.
Okay, so what's the epidemic now when these men are like in their 30s?
So
because you said it evens out over time.
Yeah,
like at some point they find
the problem is the high divorce rate. So like fewer people want to participate in divorce and in marriage, and then divorce gets 56% divorce rate. That means something's wrong. If you had a 56% default rate, when people were taking loans
no one's
out,
giving me a loan.
Yeah, no one's giving you a loan. Like for some reason that seems to work. If you were to ask if you were to ask an attorney, what is the single biggest financial agreement me as a man am going to get into in my entire life?
Marriage.
Is it my house or my car? It is your marriage.
Yep.
And yet you are far more informed on the financial details of your car and your house than you are in your marriage. In your marriage, you will get married with no education, no prenup, no nothing. And I recommend people go speak to a divorce attorney before they get married so that it helps them stay married. I also think this is going to be really controversial.
Most people get married broke though, so it does
sure.
like a prenup ain't.
Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's another thing. I will say this. I think prenups will help marriages stay together in a lot of cases. Very similar to how you'll see in neighborhoods where people have fences and there's like dual gun ownership, that you have the lowest level of crime because people like, no one's going to rob us. It's like we have boundaries. I think when people have boundaries, like they understand the boundaries of the world. You have boundaries. Your wife doesn't cheat on you. You don't cheat on your wife. That is a boundary. No matter what people say, you have boundaries in your relationship.
Oh, we for sure do.
If your wife's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, assalamu alaikum, I've converted to Islam.
Yeah.
This is a problem, honey.
Yeah.
We got to deal with this. That's a boundary.
Yeah.
Having those boundaries helps a relationship. Having it like where there is no incentive for someone to break out of the relationship through a prenup, the prenup should de-incentivize both parties from divorcing. Or the prenup should de-incentivize both parties from cheating. If you do that, I think that can actually help the situation. And so that's where there's a problem. It's like men are now getting married at 30 and they're getting married to women who don't really want them, who are like settling. Sheryl Sandberg, she had the quote is like, hey, when you're young, date them all, date the hot guy and the fun guy. But when you're older, date the guy who thinks that taking out the trash is sexy or whatever. And it's like, bro, I'm supposed to wait while you run through all these dudes. And then when I'm 30, I'm going to settle down with you after you've been through all these, after you've rocked the bartender. I'm like, I'm not going to wait. That's crazy. And so the thing is, if you believe men should wait, then there is no crisis. But the divorce rate is skyrocketing.
Do you know, is there a divorce rate statistic for if you get married in your 20s versus 30s for the first time?
Yes, so it's higher divorce rate between 20 and 25. It lowers between 25 and 32, and then after 32, it goes back up.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's not a huge
It's not
statistic.
like it just doesn't matter.
Divorce in general is pretty prevalent with all marriages, but there's another interesting statistic. This is one that really pisses people off. So there's a 56% divorce rate, and 80% of divorces are initiated by women. So
80%?
80%. So when 70 to 80%. Wow. Whenever I talk to women about this, their obvious next reaction is, well, of course, because it's the men's fault. The men do this, the men do that, the men do whatever. And I'm like, okay, what if we ran an experiment where we controlled for men? So a way to do that would be to look at same-sex couples, gay men and lesbian women. What is their divorce rate? So what should happen is, if it's men's fault, is that homosexual men should get divorced at a higher rate than lesbian women. And the opposite is true. Lesbians get divorced at twice the rate that homosexual men do. So when women don't even have men to blame, they are leaving marriages faster than men are. That shows that there is an issue. Where does that issue come from? I personally believe it is stimulus, that it comes from the incredible amount of options that women believe they have from social media and from dating apps.
Do you think that, my opinion would be, women are more emotional than men?
Sure.
And when you're emotional, you make emotional decisions?
Yes. You also make things up. You also like you looked over at a car and there was a girl standing by it, and your wife's like, why are you looking at that girl? And you're like, I wasn't. It's like, why are you lying to me? I was like, I'm not lying to you. I wasn't even looking at her. That kind of thing where it's just made up, that may be more prevalent in lesbian relationships than in homosexual relationships, which is part of the reason why. That's just theory why that's happened. I've definitely been in relationships before where a woman feels something and now she starts attributing
my theory would be
to
just
me.
Emotions. Like I just think
for sure
you just make spur of the moment decisions when you're emotional.
Right, but what you wouldn't see though then is a decline in marriage and then a 56% divorce rate, if that was something that the problem is, there's issues that always happen, but then when social media came out, these issues got exacerbated, and the exacerbation is because of the social media. The study that I meant to bring up to you before is the GSS does this study where they looked at the average number of sexual partners for women that cheated in a relationship and the average number of sexual partners for women that did not cheat, so before marriage. So they did this survey. And I would have a group of 10 girls there, and I would say, do you think that body count matters as far as cheating in a relationship? And of course, all the women are going to say no. Of course it doesn't matter. I can sleep with 50 guys before I'm married. I would never cheat on my husband. And I'm like, so if I did a survey with 7,000 women, what I should find is the women who cheated should have the same previous number of sexual partners as the women who don't cheat, right? Is that what I should find?
Yeah.
And if it was 10% more, that would be
a little variance.
A little variance. If it was 50% more, that would be pretty significant.
Yeah.
It is 230% more. The women who cheat in relationships have had 230% more sexual partners than women who didn't. That is statistically significant and incredibly offensive, Ryan.
Yeah.
If you think about that, if you explain that concept to women, that is horribly offensive. What do you mean? There's actual data that shows that you can't turn up into a housewife. Actual data that shows that. That's horribly offensive. You shouldn't be posting that stuff, Michael. Who hurt you? You're promoting incel culture and hatred towards women. No, I'm not. What I'm doing is telling women that I'm close to, maybe having a massive body count before you get married is a bad idea.
Yeah. I mean, but like even just without the data, it's just common sense too.
For sure. But if you say that, Ryan, though, if you say that it's common sense, they're going to be like, look at this misogynist.
No, I don't really care what they say, but
Yeah.
it is common sense.
Yes. But for me, now I can speak to the other side
Yeah.
because you're not arguing with me anymore. You're arguing with the general survey study. You're arguing with the GSS now. That's the problem. You're arguing with the U.S. Census data.
Well, I think what happens is it's not even like I'm saying it's common sense, but right, there's always the study is taking an average of it. Any study, right, is taking the average. And so within an average, there's always people who that's not true for. There's people who it's like extremely true for. And so like, you're going to have everyone only thinking from their subjective point of view of like, yeah, I would have been one of those people that wouldn't have, or, yeah, I could see.
No, but I'll talk to women who've been with 50 guys, literally were in a marriage, telling me this wasn't true, and they cheated on their husband at the same time. They think like they're.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are delusional. That's just.
Sadia Khan, she has this one clip that went viral, which basically she was talking to Lewis Howell, and she says, I believe that women cheat more than men, but women don't admit that it's cheating. They're like, when a woman cheats, it's like, no, he wasn't validating me, so it's not cheating.
That part has gone up because of discontent of thinking like this is what the ideal life is. I see this guy or this girl and everything looks perfect on social media and my life's not like so it's social media has made comparing this thing that now is causing more dissatisfaction with your life when it's just
in general there's more dissatisfaction. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Because we don't have gratitude, because we don't live in a survival scenario anymore. You have gratitude because I saw your sales team is right next to your office. I do the same thing. One of my sales guys lives with me. Right?
Yep.
My next door neighbor, 2 more sales guys live over there.
Yep.
I'm so grateful that I'm changing their lives too. And I'm so grateful when guys come back to me and like, hey man, you've changed my life. You've really helped me a lot. There's a lot of people in our situations that would be like, all of my needs are cared for and I'm just dissatisfied with life. You'll see that, like a great example would be the Charlie Sheen situation. Highest paid actor on television. Everyone thinks you're good looking. Everyone thinks you're funny. And you're literally playing yourself on TV. Like, think about the amazing validation you get from that, where you win awards and you're getting paid more than everyone else. So what do? Do you show gratitude or no? Do you go have unprotected sex with stars and smoke crack until you get AIDS? That's what he actually did. That's a complete and total lack of gratitude for your situation.
Yeah.
And so some people have gratitude. If you do so, then you're good. But for a lot of people, it's like, I don't know why I'm depressed. I'm like, well, you didn't hunt for food today. You just pushed a button and then food showed up.
You want to know something interesting?
Yeah.
I agree with that, with the gratitude thing. Well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
which is ironic about this whole gratitude thing. But I've been doing my morning routine for about 7 or 8 years now. And in part of that, it's writing 3 things I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And I used to think it was voodoo. I'm like, dude, I ain't doing that. Like, this affirmation stuff is stupid. And I just started doing it 8 years ago. And sure enough, every day I've done it without missing a beat. And like, you just realize every day, you're like, man, yeah, do I have problems? For sure. But you just write things you're grateful for. And so then I started to implement this into my company 2 months ago. I said, hey, every day at 9 a.m., every team is having their own morning meeting, and you're going to run it the same way I run, like basically my morning routine. Everyone's going to come around and share something they're grateful for in the team meeting. That's the first thing we're going to start with. After that, we're going to go like shout somebody out, like who did a great job and who's, whatever, right? Exemplifying our core values. From there, we're going to go talk about the agenda for the day. Hey, here's what we're trying to accomplish as a team. Let's get ready. And then we're going to end in prayer. And that's just now what we do. Takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it has changed everything so significantly in great ways. But like one of the things is it's caused some people to leave.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then some people,
Actually
not some, anyone else who has stayed is like, dude, this is so good.
Yeah.